Well, consider that can well and truly kicked down the road. West Ham United 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. What a thriller at London Stadium. I think not. And we are joined, me, Will Pugh, by James Jones, as usual, my weekly co-host and friend, and a friend of the podcast, Tom Rennie, from the host of the football show, actually, on Sirius XM FC. Tom, brilliant to have you on again. The last time we spoke on the podcast was the end of season review show that you done alongside myself, Jacob Steinberg from The Guardian, and Jack Rosser, the West Ham correspondent from The Sun. That was thoroughly entertaining. I would say not quite as entertaining as the stream of text messages I got from you over the last couple of days about all things West Ham. How are you, first of all? What did you think of the game last night?
Do you know what I've realised is that I have a lot of kind of friend groups and I have a lot of kind of football WhatsApps like everyone does, but no one else cares. And so you are now the person that's going to receive these rants from me, because I have been asked by people to stop sending them because, like, oh, we're Arsenal fans, we don't care about this. Comes up a lot in the kind of WhatsApp groups that I'm in. So, so now you're the target of some of my vitriol.
How long do people typically last before they ask you to stop?
Guess we're going to find out, buddy. Huh? Guess we're going to find out.
Strap in for the ride. Listen, now, one of the things I texted you last night, Tom, you asked me if I was going. I said, no, I'm on strike. Having been delighted to read the news. And James, I know I've pledged not to hark back to the Moyes era anymore on the podcast, but I'm duty bound this time. Having read the story on talksport.com yesterday that David Moyes is open to a return. So I'm not going against my word, but I'm duty bound as the host of a West Ham podcast to cover the big West Ham news. But I did text Tom and say I'm on strike. I'm not going to West Ham until Moyes is back. Somewhat tongue in cheek, but I did have a prior engagement last night. You went to the game, Tom. You watched it on TV. Jonesy, you first, just briefly. Thoughts and feelings.
Well, I'd say I didn't go yesterday because it was my son's birthday, so it was a very, very good excuse not to go in the cold. To be fair, he had his when I told him this morning that we'd won, he's kind of went, "Okay, great, Daddy. Anyway, can I have some breakfast?"
So even he knows there's
even he
this
didn't really
a sustainable plan for success.
It's not very polite for a 30-year-old boy, to be fair. You know, he should have some manners by now. You know?
Yeah. It says something when not even 5-year-old children are that excited that West Ham have won. Really. But
he's like, I bet we were still rubbish at the back though, Dad, weren't we?
Yeah, he wasn't even that excited. His favourite player, Jarrod Bowen, scored. That says it all, doesn't it? Really. My thoughts on the game. I'll keep it very top line for now. We were good in parts, but still very, very vulnerable, and a better team would have punished us in very key moments of the game. Better teams such as Leicester City, who punished us after we completely pummeled them only, less than a week before. Just turns out we were playing a much worse team than Leicester, which says it all really. But I mean, we rode our luck. I said to you before we started recording, we rode our luck. I mean, how Wolves didn't get at least one penalty, let alone two, says it all. And we were very fortunate, and it just kicks the can, like you said at the beginning. It just kicks the can.
We don't normally swear on this podcast, but I'll make an exception here. So if you are particularly offended, Tom's summary to me last night was even more top line than yours, Jonesy, where he just said, we were less shit than them.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, to be fair.
Tom?
Yeah, I mean, that's broadly my assessment. It remains the same. Look, I think that it was a wasted week because there is no future with Julen Lopetegui. There is no future. Like, he might stumble through this season. And we might have a little run of form, maybe in the next few games, maybe around February. We've not had the lovely home run that Brentford have had this season, playing like literally nobody for the first half of the campaign. Our home games have generally been quite tough. I do think we will win 6 or 7 home games between now and the end of the campaign. That'll stumble us to around 38, 42 points. And that's fine. I don't think we're going to go down. It would take, Avram to come back for us to go down. Like, we're going to finish above Leicester. We're going to finish above Wolves. I'm very confident in that. But that makes the rest of this season a waste because there is so much potential there. And I just, Lopetegui took over, 7 months ago? And when we did that show, Will, like, I actually felt quite confident in Julen Lopetegui. Not that it would be amazing, not that it would be like reinventing the wheel, but I thought we would still be competent and there'd be some gradual improvement. I didn't expect us to completely fall off a cliff in the way that we have. He can't read a game. Like, that's what frustrates me most. For a man who's been in charge of hundreds upon hundreds of games, I'm not going to Guillem Balaguer you and tell you about Real Madrid and Spain, where he was a failure. But I will say at Sevilla, he was tremendous for 2 of the 4 seasons, right? So this is a man who knows how to manage. And I'm watching these games, right? I've been Chelsea. There was another, I forget, and there was this game. Or maybe I'm thinking about the Leicester game, where like we sort of have a circle formation, where there is nothing in the centre of midfield. And it's because Edson Alvarez is marking the striker. And last night he's following Cunha around, as he was following Vardy around, as he was following Nicholas Jackson around. Doesn't work. Because what happens is Jamie Vardy or whomever wanders off a bit, leaves a massive hole in there. Mavropanos, who's nuts, walks into that gap. And then suddenly there's a huge hole. Now, I am just some schlub. I don't read books on tactics. I've watched hundreds of games, right? We all have. But I can see that. He can either see it and thinks it's fine or cannot see it. And that goes to his entire coaching staff. And it happened last night. Look at Doherty's goal. Where does he run from? Who does he run past? What's the space? In front of the back 4 where the defensive midfielder should be. Where is he? He's gone out to that side. Why? Because Cunha's out there. Because that's what he tracked. Because that's what he's been told to track. And like, I was sitting there chatting to the guy next to me. I'm like, look at it. Look at it. Look at it. And he was like, stop talking to me. We don't know each other. But then I kept saying, like, just
We've
like,
never met.
just so frustrating. Like, it keeps happening over and over again. The fullbacks are too far advanced. If you're going to dominate the ball, you can push them forward. If you don't dominate the ball, you can't push them forward. We don't dominate the ball, so you simply cannot do it because there's constantly holes in behind. Again, this is real simple, basic stuff. And also, if you're going to press high, right, then you've got to be really intense and you've got to press them and you've got to get after them and you go in packs and there's 3 or 4 or 5 getting after them, got them, and they're full court pressed off the pitch. You can't be high press and low intensity. That doesn't make sense. It's like making ice cream in the oven. Like it doesn't make sense. And like I could bang on. I don't want to like talk the entire podcast, but like I could do 20 of them. There is so much that doesn't make sense about what he's doing. And then they won the game. They won the game because Jarrod Bowen's exceptional. And they won the game because we got away with the Mavropanos one big time. I think the other one, I could be convinced the Emerson one wasn't a penalty. He saw it in real time. I think he's looking for it, the Wolves player. Probably was, but I could be convinced not. The Mavropanos one I'd have given. It's a clear penalty. It's insane it wasn't given. I'm less convinced about a foul in the build-up to Bowen's goal. I'm not really buying that too much. But beyond, like, Jarrod Bowen's brilliance, we were very, very bad. And then he makes these changes. Lucas Paqueta doesn't give a shit. Okay? Sorry, I've sworn now, but you opened the door. But, like, he don't care. Like, when you come on, you do your Christian thing, you touch the line, come on, let's do it. And he's like, just wandering on. Then he has that shot in the 98th minute. We've got the ball. Like, I'm one of the few people that stayed, right? Thousands of people have gone. The enthusiasm is so low. We're 2-1 up at home in a must-win. People went to the train from the 80th minute. I can't watch this. I stayed. And then when he done that, people, whoever was left, just keep it now. And he just has a random shot, and he's like, oh, well, there you go. Guess I've had a shot. Oh, well, never mind. And they're on top of us again. Like, all of it. Players' attitude, terrible tactics, nonsensical substitutions. Danny Ings is still getting a wage and coming on.
He started last week, didn't he?
Like, Danny Ings is washed. He's over. Can't move. Is Nicholas Fulkrug made of straw? Like, what? Anyway, I've gone off on one there. What was the question?
No, you're quite, yeah. How are you? I think I said. No, I quite. You know what? That taps into my new favourite phrase, right? Which is, you don't need a UEFA Pro license to see when a team is playing badly or a player plays bad football. And I think a lot of the time, not always, but you do. A lot of managers carry themselves with that, like when they get asked fairly standard questions by journalists in press conferences, they carry themselves with that, like, you, a mere commoner, dare to ask me a question about tactics or about a player's performance, like, as if you would be able to see the mastery that I am employing here. And it's like, no, mate, exactly what you said. I've watched probably in excess of 1,000 football games, like in the flesh, in the stadium. Like, that gives you, what's the thing to become like a pro at a
So Jerry
sport or something?
Seinfeld, 100,000
10,000,
hours, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, whatever it is. It's like, I think if you've watched as many games in the flesh, you sort of have an understanding of like what works, what doesn't. Um, and I just sort of, and exactly what you said, it's just like, well, this is rubbish. Like, it doesn't. It's like,
No, but
no, it
on
doesn't
that,
need more than that. Yours was,
his
your prose was lovely, but
his job is
it's
to
just
solve it,
rubbish.
though. Like, it's
Go on.
our job. We can all see these things, right? Anyone can see these things. It's his job to solve it. He is getting paid
Yeah.
millions of pounds to solve it. Like,
Yeah.
we can all tell when, like, oh, someone's got a heart condition. So we can all say they've got a heart. Oh, that guy's broken his leg. I can see that. That's a leg break. I can see that. Spot on. I can't reset his leg, but I
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So his job is now to see the things that we can all identify. All of us, like, we go to a lot of
Yeah.
games, we see the team, we understand that's the problem. But his job is to identify it. He seems to be looking at someone with a broken leg and like giving them a paracetamol at the moment.
It's
You know,
like, it's like the surgeon, isn't it? Looking at a bloke laying on the floor with the bone poking out of his leg, going, "No, I don't think that's broken." Everyone else going, "No, it is." He's like, "I'm a surgeon, mate. It's
yeah.
not. I'd know if that was broken.
But I
That's
mean,
not broken.
do
I
either
can
of you
see
have
his
the
bone,
confidence?
mate. I can see his bone."
Do either of you have the confidence that he is going to be able to fix whatever issues that we can identify over the rest of this season? Because I'd also be interested to know if either of you think we're going to go down. Because if the answer is no to go down, what's the point of continuing with him if it's no to both? Let me know what you think.
That's a question for James, big time. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to go down. So I agree with that point. I don't think. A few weeks ago, I thought, oh, maybe the win against Newcastle made me think, oh, maybe this is the corner that we needed to turn, and we finally turned it. And then obviously that turned out not to be the case. The last two performances, I think, have been better than they have been previously. The one against Leicester absolutely pummeled them. How we didn't score more than one goal, I don't know. And then, yesterday we had enough chances to score more than two. It feels like the players are a little bit more comfortable tactically, but it's still a mess. I feel like the performances have been better, but I think that too much water has gone under the bridge for us to even think that Lopetegui is going to turn us around and see the season out and then turn us into European contenders again next year. I just don't think it will happen.
I just want to follow up
No
on it.
one's
'Cause can I
excited, are
ask?
they?
Sorry,
By
Will. Just wanted
wins.
to ask. I'm not hosting the show or anything, but I'm fascinated
No,
because
by
I
all
really need
means.
someone to tell me something that I don't think. So that's really useful. So,
This may be
like,
the wrong place for that, mate.
well, no, because what James said there was interesting. Like, what have you seen? Give me some positives from Wolves or Leicester, because I actually think 30 shots and losing 3-1 is bad. Like, and they wanted us to do that, and like all three goals were traps set for us, which we just like bundled into. So I mean, I'd love to be convinced we played well, but I don't feel like we did. So what did you see like last night in Wolves, where you were like, oh, that's what they're getting, that's what he wants them to do? Because I'd love to hear it.
Well, I think the Aaron Wan-Bissaka experiment, which we were all very, very confused about, I think that looks a little bit less shaky than it did a month ago. I think he's maybe got used to the fact that he needs to track back a little bit more, and that makes us look a little bit better, but only a little bit better defensively. There are still holes in behind. I feel like in possession, the players just they appear to have a little bit more understanding about what they need to do in possession. The problem is that when they get into the final third, and we're swearing this week, so they shit themselves in the final third. And
They
they've
were
been
only
doing
allowed to say shit, though. No
yeah.
other swear word.
Okay. But for the last two games, I mean, the 31 shots against Leicester, the only reason why we didn't score any more than one goal, one scrappy goal right at the end, was because they didn't know what to do in the final third. It was the same thing against Wolves. We haven't seen this West Ham team under Lopetegui get into those positions as often as we have seen over the last two games. And now we're seeing them get into those positions, and then they're just not converting them. So it has been better on that front, I think. I've seen the players; they just seem to know a little bit more about what they're doing. But like you said about Edson Alvarez, that's still a massive issue. I've lost count how many times I've said this season, let alone the last 2 games, "Where's the midfield?" to myself or to the TV or shouting at the pitch. Where's the midfield? That's still an issue, but it's not as much of an issue as it was 2 months ago when Chelsea were playing through us. We're being played through the midfield a lot less than we were. So they're the improvements that I've seen, but I don't think the improvements are stark enough for me to go, yes, Lopetegui's the guy. I think we're too far into the season now. We're almost halfway through, but 4 more games and it'll be exactly the halfway stage. And we're still sitting in 14th. We've like 14th is our position this year. We've been there for 3 months.
There's no way we're not finishing 14th.
And I don't see us getting anywhere under him. I don't even if we prove again against Bournemouth next week, I still don't think it'll be enough. The improvements are too small for me.
I just harking back to the heady old days when I saw our name in the bright lights of 12th finishing the season. Now I'd give my right arm to have a chance of finishing 12th. James, do you think though, when you say they're getting comfortable with the system a bit more, is it that they're getting comfortable with a bad system?
Yes, I think that is it. I think
so. We know exactly what he's after now. We're executing it.
Yeah,
much better.
I think before it was
terrible.
Before it was a system that the players didn't really know what to do in, and it wasn't a system that worked. Now it's a system that doesn't particularly work, but the players know.
They know what they're doing.
Now they know what they're doing within that poor system, or at least half know what they're doing. They're getting used to it a little bit more. I still don't think it's the way forward for us. The players are too good to be playing that style of play, I think.
Because anytime, Tom, I've been on like TV or radio this year talking about West Ham.
Oh, there you go. Not easy being a celebrity, is it, eh? It's not easy. You're in the jungle next year.
Yeah, we've been doing this podcast for 5 or 6 years now. The ITV producers still haven't called me up, so very odd. But anytime, my point less about being how iconic and well known I am, more so just I get asked a lot. It's like, oh, what's the problems at the back? And every time, like, it's the midfield. Like, Todibo and Kilman are better football players than Mavropanos and Zuma. Like, as in last season's version of those players, right? And Aguerd, yeah? So I just think I think they're being put into positions which, like, you need to be like a Virgil van Dijk at his prime-esque centre-back. You know how like Man City can afford to play a certain way because Rodri does the job of 2 players.
Yeah.
And sometimes Liverpool used to be able to be so attacking because Virgil van Dijk was so quick and athletic and had excellent vision that he could kind of do the job of 1.5, 2 centre-backs on his own. Like, we've got Max Kilman and John-Claire Todibo. They are not those players, despite Todibo, the fact he thinks he is. It just seems to be the midfield, but and it's just like everyone sort of talks about, we look all right going forward, all these attacking players, and it's like it's almost like no one sort of acknowledges or considers or even thinks that it's okay going into every game effectively 2-0 down. And it's almost, it feels to me as if, because David Moyes was like, that sort of style was built, predicated on, low block, counter attack, not worried about having the ball. And within that, there was sort of like the view around it was that he was more of a defensive manager, right? Even though our defense was actually pretty terrible last season.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, oh yeah, well, we can't say how bad the defense is, or we can't want to be better at defense because that's the unfashionable stuff we wanted out last season. And I just think I don't know. It just feels like standing in the middle of the forest, like asking where the trees are. It's just wild.
I mean, it's incoherent.
Terrible analogy, by the way, that one.
No, I mean, you can't see the wood for the trees. It's a very common analogy. I mean, you just said it very badly, but it made sense. Look, I mean, just to pick up on both those points, I do disagree with James' point that I think the players, some of them seem to know what they're doing. I'm not getting that vibe. I'm glad you are. I hope you're right. But I'm not getting that vibe that anyone has a clue what they're doing at the moment. Certainly the front group, I don't know how they're supposed to be playing, and it changes every week because it's Lopetegui roulette on what the front line is. I mean, how Danny Ings is starting, then he doesn't get any minutes, and then Fulkrug is on, and he didn't even get 5 minutes against Wolves last night. Now, what's that about? So the front line, I'm not sure. Bowen through the centre, absolutely great in emergency. Not a striker. Move him out on the right wing. He was the best player on the pitch last night. He was killing them. Absolutely killing them. For me, there's only him, Saka, and Salah. That's the top 3 in the country. And to be even in that conversation is a huge compliment to how good Jarrod Bowen is. So don't move Jarrod Bowen ever from that position because he's sensational. Make something else work in the centre. I couldn't give a toss about Kudus personally. He doesn't want to be here. He wants to be in the Europa League, the Champions League. He wants to sit on Arsenal's bench and come on for Trossard. Good luck to him. I wish him well. That sort of player, they come to West Ham to build their profile and move on. And I want him to do that. I really do. I want him to have 20 goals rest of this season, be an £80 million signing, which we reinvest in 2 players, which was the Paqueta plan. It's supposed to be the Kudus plan, but he don't like he cares. Same as Paqueta. I don't know whether he hates Lopetegui or thinks he's better than this, or there's the whole Ghana thing that's upset him. I don't know, but you can visibly see, to my mind, that he's there's something happening that's not quite right. Midfield, I mean, I don't know who knows what they're doing there. Maybe Alvarez does, but also, use your brain. When there's a huge gap in midfield, you may have been told to do this, but maybe watch the space. Souček, I love Big Tom and all that because he shambles around and scores great headers. He's a legendary figure. But what does he do in the game? He used to sort of bundle down the right wing every now and then. That's sort of off.
He's the best centre midfielder we got this season, though.
No, I agree. But I don't really know what he's being asked to do, and I'm not convinced. Sometimes he's 10, sometimes he's 8, sometimes he's 6, sometimes he's 4 in the same game. And then, Carlos Soler. I mean, I don't know. Jury's out on Carlos Soler. I do see there's a talent there. The through ball to Wan-Bissaka at Arsenal was exceptional. Great moment last night where him and I think Bowen combined when he got in and could have scored, but then disappears. A bit of a flake. I'm not the biggest sort of fan. So, I mean, the reason I'm mentioning all this stuff is that there's no one to me that particularly stand out. I don't really know exactly what they're being asked to do. I can't quite see what they're delivering. And then you get to the defense, right? They're just playing too high. They're clearly playing too high. I'm not convinced by Kilman. I think for someone that tall, I think he'd get blown down by a wind. So I'm not convinced by him. He's got no James Collins about him, and to Debo, I'm sorry, nothing for him. I would get rid immediately. I think he's crap. I'm sorry. He turned up looking hungover. The first few months, unshaven, unkempt hair, looking like whoa, whatever. And I thought maybe he's had a big summer, maybe he's been injured, maybe he don't want to be here, which he didn't when he got Juventus. And then he talked about a couple of games. You think, there's a little bit of talent there, but then Tottenham was appalling. Oh, we played great against Ipswich. We could have played 9 men against Ipswich. I'm sorry, no. If your only good game is against Ipswich, I'm not too sure. And Mavropanos, wildly, was probably our best player, to my mind, against Wolves, because he actually, didn't make a monumental screw-up in the game. He's always due one. And he made some good cover runs. But, I mean, I don't want Mavropanos, but, none of it works. And if you've got any of those players, you can't play on the halfway line. You could do it a bit last night against Wolves because they got no pace in behind. But then where is the next bit? Where is the pressing? Where is the all-action midfield? I mean, he wanted Guido Rodriguez. Lopetegui pushed for Guido Rodriguez, who hits none of the marks on profile needed. None of them. And now he wants to leave because he was told he'd be a linchpin in the team. And after eight games he started, they were like, actually, no, sorry, this is insane. You can't move.
You are awful.
You can't move. We'd have been better off keeping, I forget which one it is, one of Steve Potts' kids, the one at Wickham. I forget which first name it is, but keep him. Probably. John, he's gone done all right. Flynn Downs, I'm not a big fan of Flynn Downs.
One of the wildest things I've ever seen.
It's just I don't know, all of it. And then I do put it down to the manager because eventually, to go back to your Moyes point, is that there was a point with Moyes, and look, I'm not defending David Moyes anymore. It was amazing, it was great, and all that, but it was over. There is no care for what you wish for. It had run its course, and it well run its course. God bless him, build the statue. It was over. But he did know, as Nuno Espirito Santo knows, as Marco Silva knows, play the game you're in, not the game you wish you were in. Yeah. And that is what Lopetegui keeps not doing. Look at the game, look at the opponent, and you think he is because he made 8 random changes going into the game. but he doesn't seem to have thought about it in any way. He can't seem to fix it as the game goes on. And just really, really briefly, after Man United, I spoke to Lopetegui in the press conference, right? And I said to him, like, first half, we were diabolical. I was obviously more polite than this. It's my job. But I was like, first half, Man U should have done us 5-0, right? Everyone accepts that. They were so much better than us, and we were so underprepared for that game, it was frightening. What he did was take off Paqueta and Mavropanos, and he brought on 2 other players. Forgive me, I forget the players. And we switched. Brilliant. 4-2, 3-1. Creating chances. The better team, significantly. Dominating the ball. Could have won that game way before the late controversial thank you, David penalty, right? And I said to him, like, what did you notice? Because I actually quite like it when you talk about the football with them, because everyone asks about their feelings. I don't give a shit about their feelings. I want to talk about the football. So I just said, what did you notice? So you're the coach. You saw we were struggling hard and you made some changes. So what did you notice about this and that, the change of shape to make us better? And I'm thinking he's going to say, well, such and such was running us down the right. So he wants to mark
Giving
it.
him a bit of a chance to flex and go,
Yeah, like,
actually,
tell me, impress me. Show me the length, right? Show me the length and the girth. Tell me, baby. I want to know. And he said Paqueta was booked and Mavropanos was booked, so I took him off.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh right. Oh, nice one. Thanks.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
How much was your
So he's stumbled across a very good second half performance against.
Which happens, right? Which happens. Everyone stumbles across the team. Injury, suspensions. Forest was the next game. It changed everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on, guys.
That might be the first time I've ever heard someone have a go at someone because they turned up for their first appearance at West Ham looking a little bit unkempt. I don't think we've ever had a pop at anyone for not shaving, James. It's funny, you do these things for 5 years, we've done this, and you sort of worry sometimes you start repeating content, but there's always a little gem to be found somewhere, isn't there? Right, we'll go on. We'll take a little bit of a break now. We'll talk about the Wolves game in a bit more detail next, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about where we go from here. I know it feels like it might be a bit Groundhog Day, but I promise, as per my pledge, there'll be no harking back to the David Moyes era. We'll have a bit of a chat with Tom and Jonesy and see where they think we go, because it appears that the fan base is fairly united that Lopetegui isn't the answer for the future. Don't forget to follow us on socials at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. We are West Ham Pod on Instagram. We are westhampod@gmail.com if you want to email us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and buy us a pint at buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham. Stay with us. A bit more of a look back at the Wolves game next. Right. Let's actually talk about the game. Like I say, I was on strike, so I wasn't there. James, I'll go to you first. Just basically say what you said to me off air. What's your brief synopsis, particularly around the decisions and stuff? Just talk to me.
I'm trying to remember what I said now. It's pretty
Basically,
much
Wolves robbed.
it pretty much along the lines of my top line analysis right at the beginning, and was that a better team would have beaten us, would have punished us. It would have been 4 or 5-2 probably. Wolves at least one penalty, probably 2. The fact our 2 goals came from a corner that wasn't a corner. And a foul in the build-up, which a little bit contentious. I know, Tom, you said earlier you weren't convinced. We've seen those given, is the fact. We've seen them given. So we rode our luck on at least 4 occasions. Yes, we had 2 goals ruled out for offside, but both were very, very clear offsides. So it wasn't great. It wasn't a performance that would suggest to anyone that he needed to win. He's won, and now we can push on. It was a kick the can down the road type of performance. Wolves were poor, and that was the only reason why we won. And that's kind of the moment the final whistle went. It was like, well, we've won that, but we won't win that on Monday night against Bournemouth. It just won't. We will be thrashed at Vitality on Monday if we play the same way. So that's the way I saw it. We were very lucky. Wolves will feel very, very hard done by, and if Gary O'Neill does lose his job after that, it's incredibly harsh, I think, for him off the back of that. But it's what it is.
Right. Well, I'm going to read you out right? This is the I just I just asked Tom for a little bit of a bit of an update, and I asked him if they were just more shit than us. He said that's exactly it. That Bowen moving to the right wing changed the game. Midfield non-existent. Fullbacks out of position constantly. Alvarez too deep all game. Soler did nothing. Souček did nothing except the corner. Ings coming on as an embarrassment. He can't move. Kudus keeps running and not passing. Taking off Somerville again. I mean, we are just terrible. Badly set up. The atmosphere's been so flat, half empty already. Anything to add, Tom? That seems like a fairly an excellent, succinct summary.
I mean, look, I would have more to add, but I don't want to keep boring you with my same things. I'm boring myself sometimes.
That's why you're here, mate.
But just like, I mean,
I've
to
been
be fair,
boring everyone for 5 years, and I'm still here.
I said yes to this from my own personal therapy, so maybe you should indulge me. I don't know. Look, I struggle to move away from that assessment. I have spoken to a couple of other people that were more positive this morning, and we did win the game. The Bowen goal is exceptional. He really is a world-class player. Yeah. He is so good, Jarrod Bowen.
If Saka or Salah score that goal,
come on,
everyone's going absolutely nuts about it.
It's so good. It's so good. Like the drop of the shoulder, the confidence to come inside, the fire it through a crowd, all of it. The having a rumble with Mario Lemina at the end, like all of it. He's just so good. I love Jarrod Bowen. He's just so good, and I cannot wait for the statue because that man's going to get a statue, whatever happens. But
he went level on goals, I think.
Level with Di Canio and a couple of others.
Second joint highest goal scorer of all time behind Antonio, and he's definitely going to do that.
On the game, right? First 20 minutes. Obviously, we've all been involved in these El Sacicos far too many times the last few years. You know it's not going to be a good game, right? We've been through a few of them, and it wasn't a good game. But after about 10 minutes, you started to get the sense that actually Wolves are worse than us. Like, I was quite shocked by how bad Wolves are actually. Losing 4-0 at Everton has really blasted all of their confidence to a degree. It's going to be tough to come back from that for Gary O'Neill. But then nothing happened. And then you're waiting for someone to like take the game by the scruff of the neck. And Kudus done a couple of runs where he overrun it. And Somerville did a couple of runs where he overrun it. That Bowen wasn't making the right moves in the centre. There was no kind of deep running from midfield, or the overlaps weren't working. And it was all just real flat. The intensity wasn't there in the game. And you got to half time. And I couldn't go to Everton a few weeks ago. I was at a Catholic christening, which for me is like torture. And I actually.
And then you're sitting there going, "Thank God I'm here." It could be so much worse.
The man next to me, and he was like, "You were better off at the Catholic christening, mate. This is as bad as Everton." I was, "Jeez, 25-minute sermon I had to sit through." Right, so like
they're long, the Catholic ones, aren't they?
But it's so long. They thanked so many like things. It's bizarre. Like anyway, I had a good nap at the end. But like, just like to have done Everton again. And no intensity in the performance. But like Wolves started to notice how lacking in confidence we were. And then they were having the better chances. There was that João Gomez chance, like 20 minutes in, should have scored it. If they'd have scored first, they would have won that game. But then like in the second half, you're waiting for it. And it's not coming. First 10 minutes of the second half, we still haven't had a shot. Actually, it was the 23rd minute first half. We had our first shot. Must-win game at home. And I remember thinking, Christ on a bike, that's such a long time. And then second half, we've not had a shot. We get a dodgy corner. And Souček, what a header, by the way. Like, he just really, like, smart Arsenal-style corner, load the back post, everyone else went, balls back, blocking him off. That was smart. I'll give it to Lopetegui and all the players there. That was a smart corner. A lot of really crap short corners before that, but that was smart. And it's a really good
luring him into a full sense of security, mate.
That was it.
4D chess.
4D chess.
But like for pro license, mate, you know that.
Well, it's the one with the weird hair that's got the pro license. That's it. But like, it's a great goal. And then we have 2 minutes where you're like, bloody hell, we are good. Look at this, Soler and Souček and Bowen and Kudus and Somerville, and they're pinging it about. And I think that's where we score maybe the Kudus goal. I think would have been 2-0 at that point. It's a great run to Kudus has the offside goal. And you think, God, look at what this team could be. Confidence, flowing, buzzing, skills, talent. And then after the Kudus disallowed goal, where he was so clearly offside, I can't believe he did the stupid stool thing. He was nowhere near being onside. It was so evident to the naked eye he was offside. And he does this fanning about thing with the stool and the sitting there and aren't we all like super cool bros? You've been shit for months, okay? Get back. Does my head in. Like, you've not earned that, Mohammed Kudus, okay? You've not earned that. You have done nothing since the goal against Freiburg. When was that? Like April? You've done nothing. It's Christmas. Got a tree behind me. You've done nothing for months. Shut up.
Got 2
Get in
trees in
position.
my house.
Just like do your job, right? Forget the stall nonsense. After what he did at Tottenham, I would have thought he would have come back with a real sense of contrition. And we've had a lot of like shrug of the shoulders, David Ginola stuff, which was great because Ginola used to score a few amazing goals. Clearly offside, does the celebration, pissed me off, and then we just sort of it goes. You can see they're getting on top. O'Neill's making desperate changes. They're bringing on loads of players. Aït-Nouri is suddenly all over Wan-Bissaka on the other side. It's where the goal comes from. Matt Doherty, who could have been sent off last night for multiple fouls, running through the centre. No one is tracking him. We're not fixing it. Emerson, 60 minutes in, so now he's shagged like he is every game after 60 minutes. So he's getting mullered over on the other side. What are we fixing? What are we fixing? What are we fixing? Nothing. We're doing nothing. We're changing nothing. He brings Paqueta on for a little saunter. Then they score the goal, and it looks like they're going to win the game. And then, bit of Bowen, brilliance. Great, we're back on top. So I think we're going to have another 5 minutes here, get the third, and we're going to press on, get this one. Danny Ings was about to come on at 1-1. And I was saying, again, to a very annoyed man next to me, cancel it. Cancel it. I already didn't want to see Danny Ings come on. It was the wrong move. But I was saying, when we scored, cancel it. We don't need to do it now. Cancel it. Don't do it.
Yeah. All right, mate. Stop. I've asked you to stop talking to me.
Yes.
You still are.
Yes. No, he should cancel that. He should cancel that. I'm with my kids.
Still don't know each other.
Leave me alone. Stop swearing at me, random man. Greg Wallace. What are you doing here? Get away from me. And then he just made another terrible change. And then after we'd gone 2-1 up at home against a diabolical team who were in open mutiny, so bad, one of their players tried to headbutt the assistant manager post-match. And then suddenly we can't touch the ball again. We got no control of the game. I'm not sure we had another shot. It was just every element was mismanaged all the way through. And then the Paqueta substitution doesn't make any sense. It's telegraphed. You know it's coming. He's moved the front line around again. Todibo comes on. But there's no need for Todibo to come on and go 5 at the back because it was the midfield where the game was being lost. So actually, I don't like Guido Rodriguez, but that made sense bringing him on. But that was the 4th change that he made. We had a couple of flashes where you could see what a good coach could do with this team. And then we had 85 minutes of utter schlock. And just to cap it, in the 85 minute at 2-1, and we've all been there at games where you're like, God, we've got to hold on here. Remember at Wolves, was it last year or the year before, when it was Bruno Lage and Moyes, the Sakiko then?
Yeah. He got sacked after that, didn't he?
Lage did get sacked, yeah. And it was 1-0, I think we won, with some crap goal. And we were holding on, dear life, header away, get it out, keep up. Come on, boys, we're going to win this. This wasn't that. This was people had gone home. It was about 40,000, 35,000 people in by the time they put 8 minutes up. And at that point, again, is anyone staying to be let's support the boys and get them to the end? Nobody wants West Ham to lose. If we'd have lost, I think we all could have made our peace with it because this is worse than any of the schlock that we had under David Moyes. At least under Moyes, even at his worst, you could understand it. This is going nowhere. There is no future in it. And if we want to write off this season because we don't want to be rude to Julen Lopetegui, then fine. That's what you want to do. We'll write this off.
It's sort of not fine though, is it? I think that's the bit that annoys me. It's kind of I don't know, it's the season's over. And it's really? Was this the promised new land? I'm not saying that I'm not doing the Moyes thing anymore. But it's just is this it? Is this it? You know, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. At least whether people liked it or not, you understood what David Moyes was trying to do. And again, whether you liked it or not, it got across the whole period of his era, it got results, right? And that's why it just feels with this. It's just no one gets it. No one gets even what he's trying to do.
He talks like he's got a philosophy. People like Marco Silva and whatnot. He's not got a football philosophy. There's no silver ball, but he's incredibly effective. He's of the Moyes school. Lopetegui is meant to... what is he? Is he effective like Silva? Or is he philosophy like Hertzler? He's nothing. We should... If we had the Lopetegui I thought we were getting, at the very least, we'd have some really crap 1-0 wins. and we'd be amazing away from home, and we'd look incredibly well organised. We'd do good corners. We'd do good free kicks. It'll be very clear what we're doing. And we're sort of getting just a piss poor philosophy. That's what we're getting. And it's the worst of all scenarios, this pick as manager for this squad, which is now going to get broken up because they all are on Europa League wages, and we ain't going to be able to pay them.
Yellow card, I'm afraid, Tom, for using a non-sanctioned swear word there. we said shit was allowed. There was no conversation about piss, so unfortunately, that's your first booking. Jonesy, anything to add before we sort of move on? Have a little look at the Bournemouth game. We'll chat about Michail Antonio and sort of we'll get Tom's opinion on where do we go from here. Anything more to add on the game?
No, I think Tom's summed it up quite nicely there. On the corners thing, I was getting really frustrated because the commentator on TV was going, West Ham had 9 corners in the first half. It's the most they've ever had in one half of Premier League football. And I was like, yeah, but 8 of them have been short. So they're technically not corners, are they? Because you may as well just have had a throw in. So that was winding up a little bit. But yeah, beyond that, I think Tom summed it up very well.
Right, we'll move on then, shall we? Right, stay with us. We'll look ahead to the Bournemouth game, chat about Michail Antonio very briefly, and get Tom's opinion on where we go from here. Right, we'll start with Antonio. Thoughts go out to him. Hope he makes a recovery. Looked very serious. The pictures most of us will have seen by now. Had a crash in Thaden, boys. For those who don't know, I'm sure anyone listening knows what happened. Had a crash in Thaden, boys, in his Ferrari. Very disturbing scenes. Went to hospital. Leg break, etc., etc. Jarrod Bowen holding up the shirt. All very nice. He has got form for such things. The crash he had on Christmas Day, I think, 2019, dressed as a snowman. This one, obviously, considerably more serious. I sort of weird as a conversation point, really. But thoughts, Tom?
Thoughts? Well, I've veered off the road in the Epping Forest area in the rain, driving a 4x4 and nearly totaled the thing.
Ferrari?
So you wouldn't be surprised to hear it wasn't that. It was as a Range Rover.
We have got 2 Christmas trees, mate. So
yes, it's that sweet Sirius XM TalkSport money. It pours in. It pours in. I live in this one room, but I've got amazing cars.
2 trees and a Ferrari, but I live in a tent.
Look, a crash can happen to anyone. I have no evidence to suggest anything other than an accident happened. And those Ferraris are tough to control. Those roads in a storm, in the rain, whatever. It can happen to anyone, and that's where we are, unless someone tells me different. And because of that, I feel nothing but sympathy for him because, Michail Antonio should have probably been moved on or moved down the pecking order some time ago. Yeah. I have been quite stunned that he has played so much football this season. He stopped scoring goals. He has stopped having a big impact in games. The legs aren't there where they used to be. But I had hoped for another couple of years of Antonio, last 20 minutes,
off
cup
the bench,
games, maybe Conference League, where he should have been for 2 years, and being a really important figure for us and a figure in the dressing room and a figure projecting the club as well. I think Michail Antonio makes West Ham seem cool to people who don't give a you-know-what about West Ham. So to lose that, I think, is bad. I'd be surprised if he played for us again, considering the reports on the injury. Look, I hope he does, but I'd be really surprised. And he leaves us, retires, whatever happens, as a monumental legend of the club. There should be some sort of testimonial for him whenever that decision is taken, if that decision is taken. Some of his goals historic. His longevity has been incredible. His ability to play in different positions, being part of the Conference League winning team, all of that. But, I think the team... I think this is going to sound weird, it almost would have taken a proper injury for us to actually move on from Michail Antonio, because I think he remains effective to the degree that even if Lopetegui goes, another manager would still use him because he's got so many unique attributes that give West Ham and have given West Ham for the best part of a decade something no one else has got. So it has taken this for, I think, them to finally to have to go, we cannot keep screwing around with Fulkrug and Ings and Allaire and Skamaka. We can't keep doing this. We actually do need to find someone with the physical profile, playing profile of Michail Antonio, because we can't just rely on him anymore. So tragedy, awful, but it might for the team actually be a positive over the next 18 months.
Yeah, it's funny, is it? You look at Liam Delap at Ipswich, right? And I know he's not going to come to West Ham, but he is that.
Oh no, I think he absolutely would come to West Ham. I think that's a great one.
Really?
Yeah, of course he would. Of course he would.
I feel like someone better than us will snap him up. But he is the perfect profile of like an Michail Antonio replacement. Robust, powerful, quick, puts himself about a bit, but can actually put the ball in the net. Bit younger. I think if you're West Ham, go and splash some big money on him, make a proper statement signing. And I know I don't sort of buy into that. Oh, he's English as well. I'd never normally buy into that. But I just think, you can tell he's proper up for it. Like, he's going out playing with an Ipswich shirt on his chest, not giving a stuff who he's coming up against, putting the ball in the net. And he's really sort of like, come on, this is where I belong in the Premier League. I love that. I think West Ham fans would love a sort of player like that. Yeah, and I've always said, right, and I've sort of criticised I've never criticised Michail Antonio in as much as, because I think every single time he's played for West Ham, he's tried his best.
Yeah.
So, and it's not his fault that West Ham haven't replaced him adequately in the last 5 years, which is the time he should have spent doing exactly what you said, as in off the bench for the last 10 minutes. Imagine that. You've done 80 minutes as a centre-back, and then you're starting puffing. Oh, Jesus, look at they've just held the board up. Antonio's coming on. No, thanks. I'm not in the mood for this. Yeah. So, yeah, I've always sort of despaired that Michail Antonio is still starting Premier League games for West Ham, but I've always been at pains to say that that's not a slight on Michail Antonio, because I think he's always done his very best and completely wrung out the potential flannel with every last drop of... like Michail Antonio could have been no better for West Ham. He's been the very best footballer he would ever going to be. And I think he continues to do that, and I do think he adds value. So yeah, I mean, it sounds, there's sort of, if you listen to sort of the worst case scenarios, it's that maybe he never plays football again. I think he's 34, is that right? 34. That sounds like, by the sounds of it, it's a year out minimum to recover from such an injury. Will he have the heart and the hunger to come back and play for what might be another season or so? So yeah, but I totally echo everything you've said there. Jonesy, you got anything to say, or once again?
Well, I'm pretty sure his contract is up at the end of the season, which means that he's probably played his last game for the club. I'd be very, very surprised. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. So, and I think it's going to be quite sad that this is how his West Ham career ends, essentially, for all the reasons that you've both just said. I think he's been an incredible servant to the club over the last 10 years.
He really has, yeah.
What he's achieved, he's our leading scorer in the Premier League. Who would have thought that would have happened 10 years ago when we bought him from Forest as a winger, turned right back.
Right back, winger, whatever, yeah.
Set so many records. First player to score at London Stadium in the Premier League. First player to score at Tottenham's ground as an opposing player. Like, he's got all those little records.
Scored 4 at Norwich, didn't he?
Scored 4 at Norwich. All these little trivial records that he can put next to his name as a West Ham player, and being a member of that Conference League winning team. So it is a shame that this is probably the way he bows out, because he deserves a hell of a lot more. But the main thing is that he's okay, because there was a 3 or 4 hour period when that news broke where you wondered whether it was going to be the worst news possible. So
thoughts and prayers flowing from the
that's what got me. I was like, that's never good when the club say that. So but the relief is that he's okay. And it was good that when they interviewed Souček after the game yesterday, he said that they'd been FaceTiming him an hour before the kick-off, and he was smiling in hospital. He was sort of cracking jokes with them before the game. So
probably smiling when they told him what the team talk from Lopetegui was. What system are we playing today?
Yeah, probably. But it's good. It's good that he appears like he's in good spirits. Given what he would have. I mean, it must have been pretty terrifying. So yes, it's good news.
Right. We won't do Bournemouth because I've just remembered I'm doing an opposition view chat later on, so we'll do a separate podcast.
In short, they're going to beat us 5-0. In short, there you go. They're better in every department than us. Good luck, everybody. Strap in.
Right, Tom, as a sort of way to wrap up, me and James have sort of done this a little bit in weeks gone by, but just from you then, where do we go from here?
If Lopetegui stays, and as we speak today, he is staying, we will bumble our way to around 40 points. I don't see West Ham going down. I think that would be a monumental
No.
shock if that happened. I think somewhere between 38 at worst case scenario and 45 at best case scenario, seeing us finish somewhere between 12th and 14th, depending on what the others do. I do think it will be nervy for the next few months because Bournemouth, Brighton, Liverpool, City coming up next run. Nothing there really for me. Point at best. The Southampton game's in there too, which is obviously a must win. But like I'm tired of must wins. I'm tired of El Sakikos. I want the manager to be assessed on like performance indicators. Like, are we seeing what you wanted here? And like Lopetegui has got some sort of defense. Like he's not particularly bedding any of the new players. So I think that's a failure. Implement a new style of play. That's a failure. Win games convincingly. I'd say Ipswich and Palace are the two that I'd really look at.
And if we could have lost should have lost at Palace.
And people might put Newcastle in, but if that Isak goal counts, we're finished. We'd lose 5-0. So I don't know. I don't know how convincing that was. It's fantastic, but I'm not sure it meets the performance indicator of kind of convincing victory. So I don't think he's hitting any targets. I think he's falling out with players. I think we've discussed ad nauseum here today how sort of inexplicable the tactics are. And if we want to write this season off and just see it through, I think he could probably do that. I think he could probably get us home wins.
What's the purpose of that, though? Do we write the season off and go, right? But that's what I would sort of could accept that if you're going, right, this is a transitional season, right? But then you can see what's coming, and then next season it's going to be like bang. But I can't see this bearing fruit anytime soon.
Yeah, but you can't see it.
You can't see it.
Not many people can see it, but can Sullivan see it? And if Sullivan can see it, that's the only opinion that matters. Like Steichen can't see it, never wanted him. I doubt Mark Noble can see it. Kretinsky won't care. Forgive me, I forget which Gold it is who's running the trust, but like she won't care. Vanessa, I think. Trip Smith and Brown, they don't care. It's Sullivan runs his club. And we spoke previously. I'm not like anti-Sullivan to my core, like some people are, but I do think there have been questions of competence over the 20 years he's been here, and he still runs the club, still runs it. And whatever that Zoom call was last week, it took 3 days to get together. They couldn't convince Sullivan, the only person that matters, to get rid of him. And nothing will have changed from that point. And I think they will just see how it goes. To us, that's a write-off. To them, it's fine because they ain't going to go down. And they'll be able to sell some of these players because the Steichen model is sell low, buy high, sell medium, whatever, make some money off all this stuff. 40 million players, 60 million pound players, 60 million pound buyers, 80 million pound sales. That's Steichen's model. That's how he's going to grow us. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. We'll see how it works out. But that's how he's done it at previous clubs, and that's clearly the plan. That's how you convince Kudus to come here, because it's a stepping stone to somewhere else for double the money. That's how Paqueta was here before the Steichen era. That was clearly part of the model. So, I think they might think we're in the mud now, but there is a pathway out of it. There might be a big meeting in the summer where they decide not to give Lopetegui a second season. But right now, it's not a panic. It's a waste of time, but it's not a panic because of last night's win, because of how poor the bottom three are, because of the fact that actually second half of the season, it is pretty much all winnable home games, bar like Tottenham from now on. We played Villa, we would have played Liverpool, we played City, we played Arsenal, we played Chelsea at home. They're all gone. Second half of the season is the bottom half plus Spurs. All winnable games. I think they'll look at that and they'll be like, we might, with a great run, we might get to 50. They'll think that. I don't think that. They will think that. 50 is a top half finish. But then I think Sullivan don't want Potter. By all accounts, he's not convinced by Potter.
This is my next question, right? And I'm always a bit loath to ask this because I think simply by asking it, you play into the idea that one manager, just the manager, is responsible for the entire success of a football club. I completely disagree with that. And I think generally, like you mentioned Sullivan there, but the way a club's run, its financial resources, the mood and nature of the fans, the stadium, there's so many more factors than just the manager. And I think to reduce it to that, as happens so often, in sort of football media and general conversations, to reduce it to the manager, just swap the manager and everything will be okay, is inaccurate and wrong anyway.
Sure.
Saying that and keeping that at the forefront of our mind, who would you have?
Well, I mean, look, briefly on that, I think that's a really fair point, but I do think the manager is really important, and I do think that he is the most important person at the club. If not the only one that matters. You can have the best manager ever. If the players are crap or they're not delivering, there's not much you can do. I think the players are actually delivering to a degree. I think I don't know what they're doing, but I think,
James said earlier, just like they're delivering on a bad system.
Yeah, to a degree, I think that's true. I think Bowen is having a good season. I think there is potential in Wan-Bissaka. I think James is right there. I think that there is a way to make that midfield work. I actually think Alvarez has had some good games. Souček has had some very good games. Kudus has had some good games for us. Some of it was a lot of potential there. You can sort of see it. I think this manager would need to completely change the way he goes about approaching games of football, and he's not going to do that. So,
but what if he does go then? But because that's the
he's not going to go. He ain't going to go. I would have liked to see Graham Potter come in the summer, and the reason for that is because it was an actual change of style from what we had previously, and that. We had hours of discussion on it, all of us, with friends, family, and fellow fans. What do you want to see if Moyes goes? Something different. And we haven't got something particularly different apart from in the areas that it's worse, right? But it's like, there's been no improvement. It's sort of like taking those bits, take the good bits out, make it worse. Lovely. There's your avocado in the sun. There you go. It's been sitting in the sun for 3 days. We used to eat avocado. Now we've got microwaved avocado. Cheers. There you go. That's what you got. I'm having an avocado after this. But
that's a weird analogy as well, I think.
I'm thinking about my lunch now. But I think Graham Potter would have been a good hire in the summer. I'm not convinced that he'd be a good hire now because I don't see how this particular group could affect that plan. And that leaves with firefighters, and I'm not sure that we actually need Moyes, Deitch, firefighter. So if you're going to change, I would still hire Graham Potter of the group that are there. If you aren't going to change, then we write this season off, we say goodbye in the summer, and then we actually do the rebuild we thought we were getting this summer when we instead bought Guido Rodriguez for the Pace and Power League.
So bleak. James, anything to add?
Well, in terms of where do we go from here, looking at the fixtures that we've got I can see him seeing the season out just by winning the must-win games.
Well, that's what I said from the beginning of the season, wasn't it?
When it comes to
win enough.
Well, he's done it. I mean, before the Man United game, they were like, he's really got to get a result here, really, to show that he's good enough. Beats them. Doesn't win for 2 games. Newcastle away. Got to get a result where Alvarez is sacked. Beats them. Loses 2 games in a row. Bournemouth, Wolves at home. Needs to win this one. Alvarez is sacked. Wins that one. And then if you look at it, the next 2 games, Bournemouth and Brighton, we're not going to beat either of those sides. And then it's Southampton away on Boxing Day. We'll probably win that because he'll need to win that. And then it's Liverpool and Man City. We're not going to win those. And then it's Fulham and Palace. He'll probably win those 2. And then straight away, it's Villa away, Chelsea away. So he's going to just stumble his way through by winning the games where he's told, you need to win this one. He'll win it and then won't win for 2 or 3 games. And that's how we'll get to 40 points. That's exactly what will happen. There's not like a run of fixtures where you go, there's 4 or 5 wins there.
This was it. And he lost to Leicester. We're in it now.
Yeah, but that's true. That's true, and I think that's what I think the club are looking to do is just they're hoping that he'll just just see the season out.
Yeah,
I mean we're 9 points above the bottom 3. We're not going to go down, and I think that's probably playing in their minds as well. There's a cushion there above 4 teams that are worse than us, and they're probably also looking at we're only 2 points behind Tottenham. We're only 2 points behind Tottenham.
This is it. There's a lot of teams that are having a kind of crisis season. Man United are just above us. Everton are useless. Tottenham have been
Newcastle only 12.
Yeah. There's every chance. I genuinely think we're going to go on a Brentford-like run of home victories. I think he has shown he can win home games against mid-table and bottom-table teams. And you take Everton away, which we probably should have won, bar an amazing save at the end, crap game though it was. He is going to get 12 wins. And it isn't going to be a European qualification season, which is such a shame because beyond the top 4, everything's up for grabs at the top this season. I think we've probably got a top 8 squad in this country. We've got a top 6 wage bill. And so we should be doing a lot better. But I just don't think Sullivan can be convinced to sack unless we really are bottom. And look, how many years? Sorry to bring him up again, but how many years could Moyes have gone? How many times could Moyes have gone? And we've all thought, he wins this game and he stays in. I don't think that's the case. I think Sullivan cannot settle on a replacement. Never has been able to. Never going to be able to. It's why he went back to Moyes the other time, because he couldn't decide on what to do. And to replace him now, there would need to be trust in Noble, trust in Steigton. There would need to be succession planning. There'd need to be all sorts of stuff that Sullivan doesn't do. So
they all just seem like normal things to like be doing as a football club. Do you know what I mean? And that's where my frustration comes from about all of this. And another thing I've said in my several TV and radio appearances this season is that as a club, there just doesn't seem to be a plan or an identity or a structure within which, do you know what I mean? Like at work, you've got kind of like an overall department or company strategy, and that kind of guides your actions and your decision making.
Speak for yourself, mate. That must be your department.
Yeah, maybe. But it's like, look at Brighton. I know it's easy to use them as an example, but it's like they know what they are and they act accordingly, right? They've got a setup, and I'm all right, not just Brighton, but a few other clubs are like that. And it just feels like we're so lurchy. It's just like, Pellegrini. But
I mean, Pellegrini 7 years ago. Like, we can't keep going about it's Pellegrini, right?
Yeah, but it's still
a millennium ago.
Our last couple of
the issue is, as much as those are like the conversation points about Sullivan and whatnot, and I took us down that road a little bit. The main issue here, to refocus, is the fact that Marco Silva at Fulham has a team that makes sense, and over a period of years, he has got players in positions affecting the game in a way he wants. Nuno Espirito Santo has got two great centre-halves. He low blocks through every single game. They've got three attacking players who feed a giant striker. We could be doing that. We have an equivalent squad to Forest. But now we're in a different world.
Fans do not allow it.
If Lopetegui started to do it and started to win games, he would get the same sort of leeway that Moyes got the first couple of years. It had just gone on too long, right? So if he could do what Marco Silva and Nuno are doing right now, he could do the exact same team, the exact same tactics. We have slightly better players than both of them, and we could start winning games. The issue over the next 5 to 6 weeks is Lopetegui needs to realise that he has been, word of the show, shit. And what he needs to do is stop being shit, stop being proud, stop having, Sepp Blatter used to be known as 1,000 ideas a day, man. The trouble is they were always bad ideas. Stop having 1,000 bad ideas. Stop having an idea about 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 4 in midfield, floating Alvarez. Stop it. Go back to book 1, football tactics, chapter 1, how to win a game, and do that. And do that for the next few. Brighton aren't doing anything like revolutionary now. They're not doing any of this De Zerbi crap. They are doing 4 or 3 at the back. They're doing 2 defensive midfielders. They're having 1 or 2 strikers depending on the game. It's like 3-4-3, or they're doing 4-2-3-1, right? That's all they're doing. They're not reinventing the wheel here. Carlos Baleba has not come in and suddenly become Paul Scholes. He's got a team built around the skills that he has. And this is like, Mitoma is not better than Kudus. So why is Mitoma having these massive impacts on games? Because they're working on a way to get something out of him. Danny bloody Welbeck is smashing it for Brighton. Could Full Crew not be doing this? Just go back to basic football. Don't be clever. You're not clever. Okay? That's what I'd say to Lopetegui. He starts doing that, we have a better season. If we see a bizarre formation against Bournemouth on Monday, which I bloody guarantee you we will with 5 changes, then you can kiss it goodbye. If he does 4-2-3-1 with 2 defensive midfielders, with the defence 10 yards further back, we get something. If he don't, we win.
There we go. That seems like an adequate summary. I quite like this, James, where we just invite a guest on, and then we don't have to talk about it being
I've done
crap.
too much heavy lifting here. I'm not doing this every week, I only do this at crisis points.
It's been refreshing for me. Just sit here and listen to Tom. It's great.
Yeah, he's just sort of said the exact same stuff that we think and feel and say every week. But it's done with a different voice, a bit more vigour.
Angrily, repeating your talking points from last week.
Yeah, saves us a job, Dave. I quite like this, Jason. Have you got any mates, Tom? Have you got the number of that bloke sat next to you who didn't want to talk to you?
Yeah, he didn't give me his number in the end.
But right, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very much to Tom Rennie, host of the Football Show on Sirius XMFC and big West Ham fan, of course, if you haven't gauged that already. Thanks to James Jones. As ever, thank you lot for listening. Sorry we didn't get round to the messages. There'll be an opposition view ahead of the Bournemouth done later on, or released later on this week. If you thanks for everyone who got in touch this week. Sorry we didn't have a chance to read them out. Follow us on socials at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just search We Are West Ham Podcast. Send us an email at wearewesthampod@gmail.com and buy us a pint at buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham. West Ham United 14th in the table, and if we don't finish there at the end of the season, I will eat my hat. Can kick down the road for at least another week, and is it just going to be a whole season of can kicking? Probably, but who knows. Thanks for listening, everyone. West Ham are massive. Up the hammers, and we'll speak to you later this week.